I wasn't going to eat meat. Like they were serving a steak was one of the things that's their most common on the menu or whatever. And I remember saying, like, I don't want any steak unless it's grass fed. And she's like, well, what else would it be? Welcome to the True Health Solutions podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lonnie Bagwell, stress, inflammation, and functional health clinician.
And I'm your co-host, Brigitte Spurgeon, metabolism and nutrition expert.
This podcast is where we bring hope, truth, and inspiration for your holistic health journey.
Because the world needs the best version of you.
Hello, and welcome back to True Health Solutions podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lonnie Bagwell, here with
Brigitte Spurgeon.
The Brigitte Spurgeon, and we are going to talk today about, we're going to celebrate today a milestone for us and this podcast and our listeners. It's hard to believe, actually. When you had mentioned it the other day, it was I was actually surprised. It didn't feel like we've hit 20 episodes.
Woohoo!
Which is something to celebrate. Exactly. Which is something to celebrate. That's something to be excited about.
Yes.
And I was just thinking back, like, when you had said that, and I was like, oh, wow, we're at 20. We covered a lot of land. We covered a lot of different topics and stuff in 20. Some of it blended, some of it focused on specific, issues. And as everyone knows, there's only 1 million more topics that we can cover, as we go forward. So that's a good time to actually solicit our listeners. If there's something that you want to hear about, if you'd like for us to talk about it, or even something we've talked about to develop more or come at from a different angle, make sure that you're reaching out and following up, messaging us and letting us know what you want to hear. But today we were just going to do a check-in and just talk about, kind of how are things going for us on a clinical level and kind of next steps and some of the things that we're working on. And so, Brigitte, I'll let you kick that off if you want to just share with everybody kind of, well, first of all, I guess on a personal level, everybody needs to know where you're at. That's a uncommon question, but necessary in your case. Let us know where you're at and let us know some of the things you're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. I am in a new location for this recording. I am in Funchal, Madeira, a little island just off the coast of Morocco, which is an island that belongs to Portugal. And so we have been here 6 days now and settling in. We absolutely love it. We're going to be here for a month. Before that, we were in Italy for just a week, visiting my sister, and South Africa. So we're in Cape Town before that. So it's been a little bit of travel going on this side. I turned 45 this month, so been celebrating a birthday. And even though it's not a decade birthday, there's something that feels significant about 45, and I'm just really enjoying the season in life. I know Dr. Bagwell is going to have, not to give any ages away, but you'll have that same birthday coming up in a few months. Yep. And so we're enjoying the traveling lifestyle. Professionally, working remotely with our patients has been great. And we've actually enjoyed working remotely with our weight loss patients, and our functional patients, actually for a few years now, really since the onset of the pandemic that created that opportunity. And so it's, we continue to do that, working with patients all over the country, even internationally. And as I've been traveling internationally, it's actually been great to connect with people in other cultures and understand other cultures. For example, what's available in the grocery stores, what's available on the streets, what are costs like, what are health issues that people are dealing with. And it's just interesting to see that country to country. I know, like in Italy, it's the craziest thing in Italy because people smoke and drink coffee and eat pastries and pasta and pizza. It's hard to get a salad in Italy, but they don't deal with the health issues that we deal with in the US. It's just such a crazy thing, but their lifestyle is so peaceful. There's no stress. So that might be a clue there. Yeah. So, so that's been great. Interestingly, as we were in Mexico, OptiBurn launched a Spanish edition of of OptiBurn. So that's fantastic to have like a different translation available so that we can help more people who may be limited on with the language barrier. So that's pretty cool. And maybe there will be more of that in the future. Yeah, as far as health goes, maybe a few interesting things that people may not have thought of about me. I haven't weighed myself in 6 months, so that's kind of interesting for a weight loss specialist. And then just also really going with the culture as far as what I eat. So I'm not being like uber restrictive in what I eat and not like super structured, but at the same time, it's just been a great opportunity to exercise freedom of health, to really have, certain yellow lines, and just to celebrate being able to choose fresh food and the protein sources that make sense for the country where I'm at. So tackle things like getting clean water and staying away from like toxins and preservatives. So that's been a really interesting learning part of the journey. And certainly keeping active. I'm celebrating this week that my husband and I joined a gym. We just felt, even though we're just here for a month, we were just feeling like we needed a little bit more structure for our fitness. And, certainly as I'm 45, my husband's 49, as we get older, like maintaining full body strength is really important. And so we're feeling like hiking and walking and, some running and stuff, like we just needed more than that. So it's been really cool kind of just hitting the weights and some of the classes offered in the gym. So yeah, that's a little bit of the lay of the land of where I am at in Madeira right now.
That's awesome. I'm very vanilla compared to all that in my life. I'm very very typical, I guess. That's amazing to hear. Love to hear about all the travels, and I was reminded of when I have traveled. I remember I went over to for the World Championships for one of our world teams heading into the Olympics, and I ended up in Paris, and I guess it's one thing to have taught about Paris and about how they have the highest per capita saturated fat consumption of any, developed nation, and yet they don't rank up there in any of the supposed saturated fat categorical diseases, like we're taught here in the United States, right? And so I've always taught, like, to debunk this idea that saturated fats are bad. I would teach about France and how they add fat to everything at a high level, and yet experience none of or very lower level of all the diseases that we're told are related to that fat. Anyway, I went over there, and I there's no way I can go into a country and a culture and not immerse myself in. Like, I want even when you got to walk down the streets of Negril, Jamaica, that are maybe less savory, like I still want to experience the foods and the culture and all that stuff. And so I was over in France, and I was like, and I literally would go in and say, just whatever the most typical meals are, that's what I want. Like, I want to try them. And they were awesome. And I lost 2 pounds eating more and variety and more fat and all that stuff. And I guess I experienced what I had been teaching. And I'll just never forget that and even bread, like bread is very common. Like, every meal has some kind of bread with it over there. Well, where I was in Paris, or whatever, for the week or 9 days I was there, or whatever it was. And I thought for sure, like, I don't eat this kind of stuff, but I was talking to the woman, and she was like, no, we literally make it fresh. And I'm like, yeah, like, you buy the ingredients. She's like, no, literally. And she showed me they have like mortar and pestle, like grinding, the ingredients that goes into the bread. And then when I asked about, because I wasn't going to eat meat, like they were serving a steak was one of the things that's the most common on the menu or whatever. And I remember saying, like, I don't want, I don't want any steak unless it's grass fed. And she's like, well, what else would it be? And I was like, really? Like, that's, like a total paradigm shift for me, she's like, and she's like pointing like this, like, meaning like the fields outside of the city, she's like, why would we import and grow things, like, why would we feed them corn when we can feed them this? And I was like, yes, you're right. And so anyway, just eating things that were clean, I actually ended up losing weight and felt amazing. And it was just, yeah. So anyway, speaking of food quality there, but, and also of course the mindset and the definitely being a less stressed state, kind of a fun time and all that stuff. So, good reminder there for me, but I haven't gone further than 3 hours away and since you've been traveling 3 countries away each time. But anyway, so we actually made a cool trip, big milestone for me. It was our first real significant college trip with my older son, who's 17, and he's a junior. And it was awesome. I could do a whole episode on all the amazing aspects of that for us, and obviously with the school that we went and looked at was awesome and all that. But the real thing that it got for me was, as it relates to the podcast and just the office and everything in general, is that I always read. I'm always learning, but I almost feel like at times I fall into reading and learning health related things out of habit or a sense of requirement, like it's required of me to keep learning and reading. And just being around that institution, like I had great academic experiences my whole life. I would go back to high school. I tell people, like, if I could earn a living and support my family and be a full-time student for the next 30 years, I would totally do that. Like, and just go from building to building, learning all the things, and it really just reignited my passion for learning, and just staying updated and, on the front edge of things. I just, like, they have an osteopathic, medical school there, and just seeing that up on the hill where we went and visited, and knowing what's being taught there in ways of medication and such, it's like we need that kind of. I just got fired up to be like, I got to teach more. I got to share more with people the truth about health, because they're putting out, thousands of people that are going to share more about the power in a medication. Well, I need to be sharing more powerfully about the power that made the body, and that people, tell people what they're capable of, before they encounter that propaganda. So anyway, I was totally fine. It was a blessing to me, I think, more than it was my son, just in that regard. And also excellence, being in the presence of excellence, being around all these deans and professors that, are always staying on the top of their game, and, and helping these students become more excellent. And it kind of got me to shift my focus from being the student to being the teacher, as I was saying. And that's kind of like the vision moving forward for me, is to require that degree of excellence in our patients as the students. Now I have to put out better content or good content, and we need to keep doing things like this so that there's material for them to learn and become more excellent in how they're understanding and managing their health. But so I take responsibility for it, but we will be requiring more of our patients to actually participate in their own rescue, which obviously starts with their mindset, and it starts with knowing, just like we taught the cancer workshop last couple weeks ago now, and then a cancer dinner afterwards. And it's the same thing when I taught heart. It's the same thing when I taught, raising healthy families. Like, you have to understand what these things are, and then it makes sense why you can honor your body, and you can, focus on, getting healthier from the inside out rather than relying on things from the outside in. So anyway, kind of a fun 3-hour trip and 2 days, and just really shifted my mindset altogether. And now I've already recorded I can't remember if it's 11 or 12 videos, just a GI masterclass for current patients that are on a functional program, so that they can learn better, become more excellent in how they're walking through those programs. And now we're out of cancer season officially, as of today, but we're moving into toxicity season and detox, which is really the number one solution for everyone across the board to be truly preventative with cancer. So it's still kind of cancer season. It's just going to be focused on the singular solution of detoxification, which we can certainly spend 30 days talking about that. So be creating a lot of content for that, hosting a workshop, and yeah, just kind of stepping in. This experience kind of just really fired me up going into this holiday season, this last quarter of the year. Back excited to be teaching more.
Yeah, it actually ties into, like really a lesson at the forefront of the season that I'm in my age and where I am professionally, and then also traveling, which I do want to share. But first, I was actually just thinking that our listeners may benefit from hearing like our most popular podcasts. So maybe you can go back and listen, or I'd love to hear your favorite podcasts that we have released. So in our first a handful that we released, our coffee controversy was our seemed to be our most popular one there. So that's a good one to go back and listen to. I know that was also one that was shared a lot. And then our interview with Pamela, who lost 101 pounds in under 10 months. That has been also, I think, probably our most popular podcast. And then also followed by our, which is a recent podcast, our natural remedies. So make sure that you go back and check these out because our listeners have felt like those were the most valuable. So, and then
awesome.
Coming up, I know we do have some guests in the wings to be interviewed. I know that a interview coming up is going to be with Dr. Kat, who is going to be talking about breast health and medical thermography. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'll add to that too. We actually have Dr. Justin, who's a part of our office, but his specialty is actually in scoliosis, which is a huge topic, especially this time of the year. Kids going back to school and wearing backpacks. Now the kids are literally coming in with sore spines and shoulders and things like that, and we're starting to see postural imbalances that people perceive might be scoliosis. So we want to help people put that to rest. Unfounded concerns, but then also understand the urgency behind identifying and correcting scoliosis should it be a valid issue, for that child or adult for that matter. And then just talked to him this morning, actually. He called randomly, but a friend of mine has become a very successful, he's the mindset doctor, and that's his title. And so he is a physician, but he's also really taken to working with other doctors and lay people, non-doctors, whatever, that want to be successful in really transforming their mind. And just being his friend has really helped me out a lot in that category. And so we've talked about a couple of things that we could share for all of our listeners. And so he's going to be considered one of the experts in the field now. And so that's really neat to see that there are people that want to share their testimony and their story, but also their expertise and things that they're good at, and just bless our listeners. So excited about that.
Yeah, I love that. Well, one of the lessons that I want, and this is, certainly a general lesson that I wanted to share that, once again, that's been on my mind a lot, and just having a lot of conversations with people, once again, all over the world. And so I think this is becoming a theme, but it is the value that we place on our physical and our mental health, and really giving that our physical and our mental health, giving that a voice, making sure that our needs in those areas are being met, and making them a priority in our lives, like giving ourselves permission to do that. We're coming out of this generation, and Dr. Bagwell, I think, like you and I, totally in that generation, appears in this generation where we sacrifice for others and we didn't take care of our own needs, or we're pursuing impact, pursuing success, pursuing provision for our families or the community or something like that. So it's just this sense of like having permission to take care of ourselves, and the importance of valuing our physical and our mental health, and making decisions that align with these, like to be really empowered in our decisions and make sure that we're acknowledging our own needs.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. And you just made me think again of just any of our processes where we interact with patients on those first interactions. They're just, I truly, and I say this humbly, but I feel like they're world-class consults and interactions, because we talk about things that are, we get this out of people. And this is why I think people get such a wide variety of results, because they're recognizing and looking for those results when they have these acts of congruency with how they were created, with their purpose, just real talk, with self, and then real talk with an expert in the field, seems to be producing that's a credible formula for top end results you just don't get in the typical. In the world today. And now I'll go down this. I don't want to talk too much about it because we'll end up on a soapbox, but because it's the Wild West. Healthcare is the Wild West. It's being revealed, much like politics. It's being revealed as it was always the Wild West. Just people are coming to understand it in traditional medicine, right? They're just getting to see it. And then the non-regulated natural world, right? People who, went to a weekend seminar and all of a sudden, they're popping up shops all over the place and just, kind of doing the standardized one size fits all approach to everything. Again, it's like there's no better time to get real with yourself and then to get real with someone who's qualified, and to experience results that you're just not going to get, outside of those two things, just real talk, and results. So good.
Yeah, those are my favorite conversations that, intake with our patients. So the initial conversations, because a lot of times, individuals are voicing things that they've never voiced or sometimes never thought about. And I think just bringing things into the open can be therapeutic and healing, or can set us in the right direction, or can just open up the space. And, certainly when we're working, whether it's over a Zoom call or whether it's in a consult room, it's a private, safe space. Right. So those conversations are normally really good and really productive. And I sometimes feel like 50% of the healing takes place just in that initial consult, because of the mindset shifts that happen, and because of the thought processes that open up in the brain and create, once again, a safe space for that healing to happen.
Love it. Yep, absolutely. I agree with that 1,000%. Either directly creates the healing, or just absolutely sets a perfect foundation. Setting expectations, so important, right? All that. Yep, that's so good. Well, I'm excited. I can't believe we did 20 episodes. Unbelievable. And all this stuff that we're doing in our personal lives, like just really feeding the next 20. As far as getting, like, no better time to get reignited and kind of passionate about different aspects of health and wellness for us. We got to stay focused. We got to stay inspired. And that's exactly what the Lord's provided, I feel like, in recent weeks and months. And so here we go. Here's to 20 more, and then we'll check back in with everybody. So make sure that you're reaching out. Give us some feedback on what you've already heard, but also make sure that we're here for you. And so make sure that you're reaching out and helping us do a better job of serving you. Any feedback's welcome, but especially topics, especially different things that you want to hear about that are most impacting your life, maybe negatively right now. Let us help walk you out of that. If it's obviously something on a personal level, we can certainly have one-on-one consults, but otherwise let's just come together as a community and let's get healthy together. So anything else you want to add?
Well, it's just such an honor. It's our honor to be your people, to walk alongside you on this journey of life.
It is fun. I love it. Okay. Well, thanks for tuning in today. Make sure you tune in to next week, where we'll be diving back into some of the most needed health topics in this natural world. We're going to present some more True Health Solutions moving forward. We love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon. Thanks for joining us today on True Health Solutions podcast. Make sure that you click to subscribe. Also, go to our website, www.truehealthcharlotte.com, where you can download any resources related to today's show or any future shows. And lastly, if you search for True Health Center Group on Facebook, you'll be able to join our free health community. We look forward to seeing you there.